Hi ladies, and welcome to my video. I'm going to try to make this shorter than the geometry video. That one was 3 hours. So let's see how we do with this one. I'm going to start off with the first section. So you want to isolate the variable. Always remember that you are doing the opposite or the inverse operations. So let's try something like number 1. You're going to divide by -20, and the reason we're dividing and we're not adding is because this does not say -20 plus a or -20 minus a. So when two terms are together, it means that they're being multiplied. So I'm going to cancel here, and I'm going to have g over -20 equals a. And usually we have the negative on top, so I'm just going to write out a negative g over 20 equals a. Okay, I'm going to do number 5. And let's try to do number 5. We are solving for a. So first things first is I want to rewrite this equation. So g equals a plus b over ca. So I'm going to multiply both sides by the denominator. And so I get CAG equals a plus b. So my a's are in two different spots. I want to put them both on the left side. So I'm going to have to subtract an a from both sides. So I get CAG minus a equals b. And then I'm going to factor out an a. So I'm going to take out an a. So here's a CG minus 1 equals b. Now that I have a alone, I can get rid of my CG minus 1 because it's being multiplied. And CG minus 1, it's being multiplied. So the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So I'm going to cross that out. So a equals b over CG minus 1. And I'm done. All right, next section. To state whether each ordered pair is a solution of the given equation. We did this the other day together, so I'm just going to do one problem. So let's start with number 9. I'm going to plug in my 7 minus 5, 0 equals 21. This is 0, 21 minus equals 21. 21 equals 21. That works. So this is an actual solution. And I'm going to do the same thing in orange with the other coordinate. So 3 times -2 minus 5 times -3 equals 21. This becomes a positive 15. This becomes a -6. Well, 15 minus 6 will be 9. 9 will never equal 21, so this is not a solution. All right, we made it to our next section. It says plot each of the given points in a coordinate plane. So the only thing I need you to remember is that your coordinates are always x and y. My x is horizontal, so it goes sideways, right? That's my x-axis. And number 15, this is my x-axis. This would be my y. And then that would be my vertical axis. My y-axis. So 15 says 2, 4, so I'm going to go over 2 horizontally, right? So 1, 2, and then up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Plot my dot, and that is it. And I'm done. And number 16 says -2, 7. So same thing. 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And this would be my point. And I can label it X. And over here in number 15, I can name this, label it A. And I'm done. Okay, so we made it to our next section. I'm just going to give you a reminder. Y equals, for the slope of a line, well, the equation of a line, the easiest equation of a line, is the slope-intercept form. Okay, and that would be y equals mx plus b, where your m is your slope and your b is your y-intercept, not to be confused with your y. So these two things are completely different. So your slope is always the number in front of the x when it is in fact in this form, in the slope-intercept form, which is the easiest form to do. So if we take a look at number 21, it's already in slope-intercept form, right? And I'll write y equals mx plus b again right here, plus b. So this is my slope, and that's my y-intercept. So again, if we were to do number 21, my slope would be negative 6 over 5. And they didn't ask, but if I needed to, my y-intercept is actually negative 5. And I am done. Okay, let's try 22 because it seems fairly easy. So we're looking at the number in front of my x. So my slope is negative 1 over 3. And I am done. So this works whenever you have an equation of a line in slope-intercept form. And it doesn't work when it's not like that. But we can always change it and make it into slope-intercept form. And I'll show you that in the next slide. So really quickly, if you had questions, whenever you have something like 23, there is no b. So y equals mx plus b. We notice that there's something missing. So my slope in this case would be 3 over 4, but my b would be just 0, if you were curious about that. Okay, so next section, you're trying to figure out the slope from a graph. And you're going to read like you read a book. So you read from left to right. So we're going to start off with a point on the left side, and then we're going to start off on a point on the right side. And I'm going to start off with maybe number 29. So I'm going to pick a point that crosses a corner of one of those boxes. So there's one there, there's one there, there's one there. And I'm starting to see a pattern. So my slope is always rise over run. And my rise goes up and down, and my run goes to the right, because go right, and you'll always be right. Okay, so I'm going to go try to read from left to right. So I'm going to pick this point, and I'm going to go up 1 over 2, and then up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2. Okay, so I'm going up 1 and over 2. And because it's going up, then my slope is positive, so m equals positive 1 over 2, and I am done. Now in the next one, let's say number 30, I'm going to pick my points again. So that one, there's nothing over here, but this would be my next one. Okay, great. So I'm going to go down 1 and to the right. How many? Okay, let's count that again. So down 1 and then over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I went down 1 and to the right 7. And because I went down, my slope is going to be negative 1 over 7. And I am done. Now, if you take a look at number 27, 27 is completely straight. And there's two things you need to remember. If it's completely straight horizontally, the slope is 0. Now, if I had, let's say I'm going to draw a graph right here. And let's say my line was completely vertical, then in this case, my slope would be undefined. And it's undefined because nobody can walk on a slope that is vertical. The only person who can walk on a wall would be Spider-Man. Great, so we've made it to the next section. So I'm going to actually go to the right. Oops. So I'm going to zoom in over here. Actually, I'll zoom in over here. So it says find the point the slope of the line through each pair of points. And I'm going to give you the formula. So the formula for slope, so m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And it doesn't matter which point you decide to be your point 1 or point 2. So if I make this point 1 and I make this point 2, then this would be my x1, y1, and this would be my x2, y2. x2, y2. Okay, so now, if you wanted to switch that around and make the first one the point 1, the point 2, and the second one, then that's okay, as long as the 1s are together and the 2s are together. Okay, so my slope here, I'm going to say m equals -7 minus a -19 over 2 minus a -12. So I want you to remember, don't forget the negative. There is a negative in my formula. Okay, so just make sure you remember there's that negative. I'm going to change that out. Okay, so these two negatives make a positive, and these two negatives make a positive. So really, I have -7 plus 19 and 2 plus 12. Okay, and -7 plus 19 is 12, I believe, over 24. Just kidding. Where did I get that? I don't know. 14. And then I can simplify, so cross cancel and divide by 2. I get 6 over 7. And so my answer here would be m equals 6 over 7. Okay, let's do one other one. Let's do 35, and let's make this 0.2. I'll make this 0.2, and I'll make this 0.1, just so that you can see that it doesn't really matter as long as it's in order. So x1, y1, and then I'm going to write it down. So m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And then I'm going to plug in what I know. So y2 was 13 minus my y1, which is 14, over x2, which is a -16, minus my x1, which is 20. Okay, so 13 minus 14 is -1, and -16 minus 20 is actually -36. And because I have two negatives, I can cross those out. So my answer is 1 over 36. And I'm going to write that over here. So m equals 1 over 36 as my slope. And I'm done. Okay, so in the next section, you're actually doing the same thing, but you have a slope, and you don't have both points. So let's take a look over here. So 38, it's asking you to find the slope with the, what would be, let's see, it says find the value of x or y so that the line through the points has the given slope. So again, I'm going to start off with my slope formula, m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and then I'm going to plug in what I know. So I'm going to plug in my slope here. I'm going to actually label this as x1, y1, and then x2, y2. Okay, so I'm going to plug that in. So plugging this in would be 1 over 3 equals my y2 is 3 minus my y1 is y over my x2 is 3 minus my x1 is -3. Okay, and these two negatives make a positive. So my next step would be 1, 3 equals 3 minus y over 6, because 3 plus 3 is 6. I'm going to multiply both sides by 6, multiply both sides by 6. So this cancels, and I get 3 minus y on the right. And on the left, I'm going to actually have 6 over 3, which is in fact 2. Okay, so now it becomes an easy problem. So I'm going to get rid of my 3, get rid of my 3. So 2 minus 3 is 1. 3 minus 3 is nothing. And 1 equals negative y. And again, I don't want to know what negative y equals. I want to know what y equals. So I'm just going to divide by a negative 1. Divide by a negative 1. So this cancels. So y equals negative 1. And I can put that back in. So my answer is y equals negative 1, and I'm done. Okay, let's do one more. 42. So I'm just going to plug it in. You can fast forward, etc. So m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So negative 3 equals negative 15 minus 6 over 8 minus x. And I'm going to zoom in down here. So negative 15 minus 6 is negative 21 over 8 minus x equals negative 3. Now you do have to multiply by the denominator, the whole denominator. So 8 minus x cancels, and then I'm going to multiply this by 8 minus x. So now I have a negative 3 times that, because we multiplied. So negative 3 times 8 is a negative 24, and negative 3 times x, or negative x, is positive 3x equals negative 21. Now if you didn't want to do this, you could always, I'll show you in a second, you could have cross multiplied, but let's continue this problem. So now it looks easy. I'm going to add 24 to both sides. So I get 3 equals 3x, so x equals 1. So now I'm going to show you the other way. The other way that you could have done this is going back to this particular piece. You have negative 3 equals negative 15 minus 6 over 8 minus x. You could have actually set this over 1. Oops, not negative 1, but over just a 1, because any number can always be written as a fraction over 1. So now I can actually cross multiply, and I would get negative 15 minus 6 equals negative 24 positive 3x. And I'm back to the original problem, and then I can work with this problem and get the same answer. So I get negative 21 equals negative 24, which is very similar to the other one, if not the same. So plus 24 plus 24. So you get 3 equals 3x, so x equals 1, and you get the same answer. But I just wanted to show you that you could do both ways.